All right, everybody. Welcome to challenge number 6, Memorabilia Journaling Notes and Creating a Holding Album. And I know we're kind of wonky with what's going on in the workbook for those of you that are using the workbook. So I apologize for this sort of bounce around. I posted the schedule incorrectly on the website, and then I was following the website instead of following the book. So I apologize for that, and hopefully we're back on track. For those of you who weren't able to join us on Thursday for the photo webinar, I did post the recorded version of the photo webinar, so you can watch it there, and we will do another live version of the photo webinar. We've extended this series one more week, so we will do the photo webinar at the end of this series as well. So you can join us live, you can watch it recorded, whatever works best for you. So let's get started with challenge number 6. And, of course, we want to start with this week's winner, which is Jill Welch-Cooper. And she says, this is my method for sorting pictures. I only print what I need for the year I'm working on. Thanks to Tiffany's webinar on photos, I have finally learned how to properly plan. I am a 6 photos per page person. Yay, Jill, for setting those goals. And I don't have the picture here that was up on the Facebook. I'm sorry, I missed putting that up. But she says, I could have saved some major cash if I had applied this new rule before printing all these pics. I can't wait to crop now. So congratulations, Jill. You get a $25 Scrap Rack gift certificate. So I will get that out to you. If I don't have your email address, though, I can't send you the code. So feel free to email me if you don't get an email from me. So congratulations, Jill. But it just goes to show that applying that little guideline to yourself about the number of photos you're going to use per page, which we talked about on Thursday. So I know some of you didn't get that lecture from me already, but choosing the number of pictures you're going to use on a page before you print them, or before you just even decide which pictures you're going to use, and determining how many layouts you're going to do for that event will give you a really good, solid number of pictures to work with, and it'll keep you from being overwhelmed by printing, literally dozens of pictures, sometimes hundreds of pictures that you're not actually going to use. So let's get started with the goals for this webinar. To make it easy to find journaling notes and memorabilia, easy to add journaling notes and memorabilia to your digital photos, and learn how to create a holding album for maximum efficiency. So step 1 is always the same, isn't it? You probably get tired of step 1, which is gather everything together in one spot. So your memorabilia, your journaling notes, all of those things that you've collected that have sort of ended up in the junk drawer or in the side pocket of your car or the glove box or your purse or wherever they might be, you're going to gather all those things together so that you can work with all of them. And then you're going to, step 2 is a memorabilia. Choose your storage system. And there are lots of ways to store memorabilia. File folders, oversized manila envelopes, 12 by 12 boxes that you've emptied out during the sorting process. Some people use super-sized single pocket pages. Some people scan it and put it with their digital photos. You just have to choose the storage system that you think is going to work best for you. Now, everybody's a little bit different on the whole archival thing. So some people who are going to be very strict on the archival rules and need to keep their memorabilia away from their photos during the storage process. And some people are going to lump everything together. Some people put it in plastic. So depending on how you feel about the archival situation, that's going to help determine your storage method for that memorabilia. Step 3 is to sort and label. So you're going to add those labels. You're going to sort your memorabilia into containers by event. So very similar to how we sorted our pictures. And if you use those picture sorting templates, you can use those same templates or those same guides that you make for picture sorting to sort memorabilia. Again, if you have, birthday party memorabilia or spring break or summer vacation or whatever, those little notes that you made on the photo storage sorting guides are going to guide you the same way. So when you come across Disney memorabilia, instead of racking your brain going, did we go to Disney in 06 or 07 or maybe it was 05, when you've got those sorting templates for the pictures, you can use those for the memorabilia as well. You want to add labels to whatever your file folder, manila envelope, or plastic boxes and put them in chronological order. So including the info, of date, time, location, all of those things need to be on that file folder. Remember, you're trying to tie things together in your head and in your computer and in your photo storage boxes so that you're linking memorabilia and photographs together and storing them chronologically. And when I say linking together, what I mean by that is putting those labels on that if you're not storing your memorabilia with your photographs, make sure that that label on your file folder that's Disney memorabilia says Disney pictures are stored in the box labeled da-da-da, where that box is, or where those pictures are on your computer, how you store them on the computer, so that when you're ready to scrap Disney, it's easy to go back in and find the memorabilia that goes with those pictures. And then we're going to create a holding album. And a holding album is a place for you to keep everything together. And you can use different kinds of notebooks or boxes or whatever to create your holding album. I did mine, which you're going to see, in just a travel pack using scrap rack pages. And then we're just going to talk a little bit about how to organize it. Whoops, I'm spinning my thing here. And how to keep track of multiple albums, which there's also a post on the blog about that. So here's what a holding album looks like. A holding album provides a place for everything you need in one easy-to-access book. So as you can see here, I've got this binder here, and it has a super-sized single pocket on the right side. And I've got all my memorabilia from that visit to Mesa Verde in that big super-sized single pocket. And then on the left side, I've used the Perfect 6 storage pages to sort out pictures by layout. So each one of those pockets could represent a layout. In my case, they also work for representing multiple albums. So when I say multiple albums, I do an album for family, and then I do one for London and one for Max. And so for this particular holding album was for a road trip that we took a few summers ago and all the places that we went. So I determined what I was going to do layouts for each of the Disneyland, SeaWorld, San Diego. This is just a little spreadsheet that I did in Excel. You can do it on the computer, or you can do it, you can just write it out. But I promise you, if you take the time to write this out, these goals out, or these guides, it's going to make it so much easier, and you'll have something that you can cross off as things are done to really reinforce for you that you've actually completed those tasks. So Disneyland, for example, you can see it says family album and then the number 4. And that means I'm going to do 4 12x12 layouts for Disneyland, right? And I choose 6 pictures for each 12x12 layout. So that would mean that when I was choosing pictures, I would choose 24 pictures. And then you can see the number of pages I was doing for each of the kids' layouts, et cetera. So this is just a guide for me to sort of stay on track with what the number of pictures I needed to pick based on the number of 12x12 layouts that I was going to do. So sorting the pictures into pockets as actual layouts, again, I use 6 pictures per 12x12 pages, my guide, and then add a label indicating the album and the number of layouts. So in this Perfect 6 page, the top 2 rows are my photos for my family album. The middle 2 rows are photos for London's album, and the bottom 2 are for Max's album. So you can see it has just a little tag in there, Max, San Diego, 1 double-page layout, London, San Diego, 1 double-page layout, June of '06 is noted on there. So each one of those pockets, I know it's going to go for San Diego Zoo or for SeaWorld. So when I'm ready to scrap those multiple albums, I can do all the San Diego pages at the same time and all the SeaWorld pages at the same time. When the pockets are empty, I know that I've completed those layouts for that event. Now I'm going to use this either the double extra long or the super-sized single to hold all the memorabilia that goes with each of those things. So you can see I have the SeaWorld memorabilia, and then I have the San Diego Zoo memorabilia as well. So when I've completed my pages from the San Diego Zoo, if there's any memorabilia left in those San Diego Zoo pockets, I know I can just throw it away. One of the things that happens with memorabilia is that we hang on to it for a long time because we're not sure if we used it or not sure that it made it into the album or all those kind of things. Well, once you group your memorabilia with your pictures in a holding album system like this, you know because the picture pockets are empty that you've completed the layouts, and so you can confidently get rid of the extra things that you have. So in this case, San Diego Zoo or SeaWorld memorabilia from each of those events. So just kind of to recap, you can see each of the pictures here. So when you're building that holding album, you're really kind of laying out your album. You've pre-chosen your pictures. You've pre-chosen your memorabilia. If you have journaling notes, you've got those included in there as well. So 12 by 12 pocket pages work great for adding any special products you've purchased to go with your pictures and memorabilia. So this is the one time that I stray from keeping everything together, is when I purchase something specifically that is only going to go specifically with those pictures. So you can see this background paper says SeaWorld. All the icons say SeaWorld. All the stickers say SeaWorld. That's the only time I'm going to use them, right? So I don't need to put them under ocean or under amusement park or any of those kind of places, because once I've done my SeaWorld layout, I'm going to be done with all of these things, and they're all going to go into my purge box. Now, if I can confidently say that. They're not generic things. I'm not going to use them again later. My kids are teenagers now, so I'm probably not going back to SeaWorld for years until I have grandchildren, and then I'm going to want to buy new stuff. So this is the only time I group things together, things that are totally specific, that are only going to be used with those pictures. So I wouldn't put generic ocean things under here or generic vacation things or any of that kind of stuff. Only stuff that's only going to be used with SeaWorld or whatever. Then I use sticky notes to tag each event in the holding album. So you can see I've got dividers here. Well, rather than writing on the dividers for each segment of these albums or this trip, I just use sticky notes over the divider tab, so I can see Disneyland, SeaWorld, Grand Canyon, or just whatever. I can see them all in there. So it's really quick and easy. And I just have it all in a binder. Now, if you have an extra travel pack, you can just keep that binder all the time in your travel pack, and then when you're ready to scrap, you know, you've kind of preset, so you can grab that travel pack and take it with you to a proper class or just work with it at home. But it does allow you to kind of line things up and put them in order before you start scrapbooking. So you've got all those, you know, pages laid out. It makes it really easy in this case to go through Disneyland, you know, Mesa Verde, SeaWorld, or San Diego, the Grand Canyon, whatever. I can work methodically through those things and really get a lot accomplished because I'm not constantly digging and shuffling and moving things around. I know we've all done vacation albums or trips where we have just piles of everything from the trip all around us or in boxes or whatever, and it's kind of mixed up. We constantly are digging through it. It's the same thing we talked about with photographs. If you're constantly digging past those things, you're going to get distracted and stop and look at things like, you know, brochures from a trip or places that you visited or whatever. So rather than actually focusing on the task at hand on scrapbooking Disneyland, you're going to end up looking at the SeaWorld maps and the SeaWorld pictures as well, or Grand Canyon or whatever, depending. But if you can separate those things out and lay them out in order of, you know, how you want to get them done, then you can easily work on them. You can also move around. So as I completed these layouts for like SeaWorld or San Diego or whatever, I used the empty supersized single pocket. So here's just I'm getting kind of ahead of myself here. So I put the chart in the front of my travel pack so I can check things off as I go through it, right? And there's also room there to make other notes or whatever. But once you use up, you know, the picture pockets and the supersized single, you can reuse them. Oh, I don't have a picture here of. So as I'm working on these layouts, or as I worked on this album in particular, as I finished the pages for Disneyland or whatever, that also meant I emptied out those supersized single pages in the back. And I was able to put the completed pages into those supersized single pages. That way, when I was ready to actually lay out the albums, I wasn't moving things around within the album. I had all the pages, they were all finished, and I could actually lay out the album and then put it together. So I wasn't moving things, you know, rearranging things, or this is only a single layout, so how am I going to make it kind of gel together with a, you know, a double or those kind of things. So it really allows you that flexibility for sort of mapping out your albums as well. So some of the benefits of using a holding album is it's really easy to access. Of course, that's always one of my main things is how easy it is to get to things. And you're not duplicating handling materials, so you're not constantly moving things around or repackaging them. So putting things in a file folder in your for memorabilia storage, or a big Ziploc bag, or a manila envelope in the in the filing cabinet is great, but when you're ready to work, if you can pull it all together and then get everything in order so you're not constantly going back to the filing cabinet, pulling things out or stacking things around, it really makes it easy. It makes it easy to go to a crop or scrap at home, obviously. It's perfect when you're shopping for coordinating products. So if I needed things for Disneyland or for the Grand Canyon or whatever the topic was, I could take my my holding album with me to the scrapbook store, and I would know that I needed, I was doing 4 Disney layouts for me and 2 for each of the kids, so that meant I needed at least 8 sheets of background paper, and that I needed coordinating matting paper for that many pictures or whatever. So by having the pictures and the little chart when you go shopping, you're going to make better decisions, and you're going to buy enough of what you need. There's nothing more frustrating than saying, okay, I just need 6 sheets of Disney background paper, and then get home and go, oh, I forgot, I'm also doing 2 pages for, so-and-so's album, so you're short pages, so now you have to sort of rethink your project. It does make it really easy when you're shopping as well. You don't have to rely on your memory for multiple albums with similar layouts. So that's one of the biggest benefits. If you do kids' albums for each of your kids, or you do a grandparents' album or whatever, you've got the pictures chosen, you've got them labeled. When that pocket is empty in your holding album, now you know that you did that layout for the grandparents or the kids or whatever. So it really does make it easy. Now, for most of us that who do multiple albums, we're already into it, and we already sort of have this confusion all the time about, did we get X, this done for this album or this done for this album? And so if you are doing multiple albums and you're in that situation, there is a post on the blog, and I'll send out another link to it. I think I posted one on one of the last emails as well, that goes to an article about doing multiple albums and how to sort of get caught up on the information side of it. And that's posted on the blog, so I will send out an email with that as well. Okay, so this week's challenge is to store your memorabilia into a filing or storage system. And again, you can use Ziploc bags, you can use manila envelopes, you can use file folders. Now, with the, I meant to mention, with the holding album, before I had a travel pack, when I first started scrapbooking, I've always used this holding album concept. I just did it in an 8.5 by 11 notebook. And there are definitely some benefits to having a 12 by 12 travel pack, because obviously, it holds more stuff, it holds 12 by 12 stuff, the pocket pages work better, all of that stuff. But I worked for years just using an 8.5 by 11 notebook, and I bought photo storage pages from the camera store because the pockets on them were 4 by 6 or 5 by 7 or whatever. You could get the right pocket pages. And then I just used 8.5 by 11 page protectors to hold memorabilia and journaling notes and those kinds of things in there. And so it was the same kind of concept. It wasn't as neat and it wasn't as easy to work with, but it did the job. I mean, it's literally how I did it for years. So if you want to start out, especially kind of knowing, is this holding album situation going to work for me, you can do it in an 8.5 by 11 notebook. So don't think that you have to fully create something new. I'm always a big advocate of sort of test things out. That's one of the reasons we do the webinars. You can learn the 4-section system without a scrap rack, and you can learn the benefits of a scrap rack, or not, depending on how you work. But then you go to make that investment in that organization tool, you already know that it's going to work, and you know that you're going to use it. So unlike something that, you sort of buy on a whim, you have a good educated background to make your decisions for it. Okay, so sort and store your memorabilia. Make sure you label the memorabilia with the location of the pictures and the journaling notes. So if you don't have your journaling notes right in there with your memorabilia, if you journal on the computer, as we talked about in the photo class last week. Now, I'll sort of recap on that. If you journal on the computer just using a Word document, and you have a smartphone, and you can sync your journal on your computer with the journal on your smartphone, so no matter where you're taking notes, once you plug the smartphone into the computer, they're going to update each other. And then you can just use dates or keywords with the memorabilia. So how people use hashtags for Twitter, you can use that same sort of system with your journal. So if the journal is, I don't know, London has a volunteers at Boys and Girls Club, so maybe my hashtag is going to be boys and girls on my journal, and I'm going to write that same hashtag on the envelope with the memorabilia. So when I pull the memorabilia, I can just go to the computer journal and in the search box, search for that keyword or that hashtag, and it's going to bring me right to the page of the journal that I need to go with those pictures. So you can, with all the technology that's out there, you can really simplify the search for things by giving each event or whatever its own hashtag, using the hashtag when you tag the photos, using the hashtag with the memorabilia, and using the hashtag in your electronic journal. So it works really great. Now, if you are a regular pen and ink journaler, you just keep diaries, you just want to put a note with that memorabilia, what diary it's in and what date it's under in that diary, so that, again, you can go back and find those things quickly and easily. All right. So my next thing, create an online journal. I should read all of these before I start talking. Create an online journal on your desktop so you can easily add to it. And if you have a smartphone, set it up to sync with your smartphone. So I already talked about that. Start a holding album for your next or current scrapping project. Now, here's the other thing about holding albums. They don't have to be huge. If your next project is just Christmas pictures from this year, and you're only going to do 4 12 by 12 layouts, you can just do a holding album for that, because all you're doing is sorting those pictures by page layout, putting your memorabilia together, and then it's ready to go, whether you're working at home or you're going to a crop art class. Or it could be something big, like I did the whole summer vacation, and we went for, I think, 5 weeks in the car, 4,200 miles, and so that's what that big holding album was that I was working on in the previous slide. So whether it's something small or something big, doesn't matter. You're just ready to go with that, those pictures and memorabilia and journal notes all in one place. Now, add to all the other stuff we're going to do, you're going to sort one more container of stuff. So remember, a container can be a box, a bin, drawer, tote, a jar, whatever you've got. If you're still sorting paper, you need to get another 4 inches of paper sorted this week. And then I want you to post your successes for the week on Facebook. I think that's the end of the slides here, yes. So let me go back. I'm going to open up the panel here for questions. So if you have a question and you haven't had a chance to type it in, you can type it in now. And we'll get through the process here of answering the questions. Let's see. Scroll through here. Marla says, I have completed all the previous challenges up to the photo challenge, but I am now stuck. I really don't understand how to sort my photos. Any links to further resources, particularly using iPhoto? Marla, I'm not sure if you're on the Facebook group. If you're not, I am not a Mac user, so I don't use iPhoto. There was some interesting conversation, though, about iPhoto and Memory Manager, which is the creative memory software, on the Facebook group just in the last day or two. Using and going back to kind of what I was saying in the photo thing, that using Microsoft Office Picture Manager, or I forget what the other one was, but another one that was similar, they're so much simpler and so much less cumbersome. They don't do as much, but they really do make it simple. So it sounds like you have had a chance to watch the video from, or joined us last week for the photo storage one, but it really is one of those things you just have to move slowly through it. You know, just take that one box of photos and sort those photos, or that one folder of photos, because what happens with photos is you just get overwhelmed, and when you get overwhelmed, you think that your system isn't working anymore because it's overwhelming. So try to focus in on small groups of things. The other thing is I am going to actually do a video, and somebody else brought this up last week, that the videos of me in the studio actually showing physical tasks of how to do it was very helpful for people. So I'm going to also do a video hopefully this week, and I'll get that up about photo storage as well. Lorena says, I missed 2 weeks due to a sick friend and now have her back, so I'll be slow in progressing. Do you keep the webinars online for a while? We certainly do. They'll be up there until, you know, well into March. So yeah, feel free. And you can download them also and save them to your own computer if you want to. Amber Lee says, toilet paper tubes, paper towel tubes, not a lot of those, but I use them in mini albums. Oh, these are things that Amber Lee wants to store: tin cans and glass bottles, Pringle cans, paper mache boxes, and handmade masks with supplies like that that are tough for me to organize. You know, I would say when you're talking about bigger, bulky things like that, that you have to kind of sort them by the usefulness of them. So like paper mache boxes and mini albums, I'm assuming those are things that you're mostly doing for gifts. So, you know, if you had you mentioned earlier about using tubs, that if you had tubs that were things, cylindrical things for your glass containers and your Pringles cans and those kind of things, so those bigger project things, but you try to keep them together so you could think about them together. So if you're making a pencil holder or some other thing that requires something that's cylindrical, a flower vase or those kinds of things, you want to keep things together based on how you're going to use them. So storing them together in that sense, like I'm going to make an X and I would use these types of things, is probably going to be your best choice. Clearly labeling things. The other thing is you may want to take pictures of what's in that box and put those pictures into your organization system. So whether you're using a scrap rack or something else, if you have a box full of, you know, bottles and cans, if you just take a picture of that box and then put that picture right into a section in your scrap rack that says, these are my, you know, the things that I have for doing this altered art. When you're deciding, you could go and look, and even though you're not going to see everything and all the details on things, you'll be inspired by, oh, I could use that box, or I could use that jar or that bottle. And then you don't actually have to go open that tub. But on the picture that you put in your scrap rack or whatever system you're using, you want to write, this is in tub number 5, or this is in the blue tub on the second shelf in the garage, or wherever you have it stored. Because what you don't want to do is decide that that's the perfect bottle and then go and have to, you know, pull out 6 different tubs looking for it. So label the tubs and label the picture, and then put that picture somewhere where you can reference it for later. And then you don't have to be surrounded by all of that stuff. Kathy had to go to work. Sorry, Kathy. Sorry to hear that. Whitney says, how do you create your holding albums, by year, by special event, or by theme? I create the holding albums by whatever I'm going to work on. So if I decide that this week I'm going to work on, you know, or my next project is going to be this trip that we took, you know, this road trip, then I'm going to gather all the holding album stuff for the road trip, put it all together in chronological order, as you saw. In this case, I did it by different events: Disneyland, SeaWorld, Grand Canyon, whatever. So I have the pictures, the memorabilia, the journaling notes, similar to how they're going to end up in the album. And so each time, I don't do holding albums for everything as it comes along in life. I do holding albums for what project I'm going to work on next. So even right now, I'm working on a board book about motorcycling, dirt bike riding. As you know, I have boys, and so I don't get to do anything that's pink and glittery. All my stuff is the color of dirt because they like motorcycles and grease and the smell, and it's nasty. But anyway, so now I'm working on a book, one of those books that's letters. It actually says "whoa," which is the noise a motorcycle makes going through the woods. And so now I'm getting the materials together for that book, and so I'm going to have this almost like it's a tiny holding album, but it will have all the different pictures that I want to use and the different memorabilia from, you know, places we've camped or whatever, and it'll be all in that little thing. So I do it by project. Some projects are small and some projects are large, but the thing is, once I'm done with it, I just recycle those, you know, perfect 6 pages or those supersized single pages back into the back of my holding albums binder, and so then when I'm ready to put the next project together, I can map it out using those same pages. Hope that makes sense. Teresa asks, you say you use 6 pictures per layout. Is that 6 pictures for a 2-page layout or 6 pictures per page? I use 6 pictures per page. So if I'm doing a double-page spread, I get to choose 12 pictures. And I don't actually always use, I'm big on the number of pictures on a page. I really try to get the most photos I can on a page, and 6 is about the max. But I don't always use 6. I just choose the best 6, and then some of them don't get used, and they go back in the chronological picture box. I know there are other people who their limit is 8 or 12, and I know there are a few people who limit themselves to 4. So depending on how you scrap, and what you're scrapping about, I guess, those, set those picture limits, whatever. I think 6 is a good, reasonable number for most of us. Most scrapbookers, it's pretty much the middle of the road number. Louise asks, do you think of any reward for reaching the 2,000 mark? Oh, did you think of any reward? No, and I'm sorry, I did think about it last night. We blew by the 2,000 like we were standing still, ladies. I think we're up to 2,100 or 2,150 or something. So I promise by the end of the week I will announce some prize for the 2,000, for passing the 2,000 mark. I'm not quite sure what it is yet. But if you have something that you think would be a fun thing to do, and for those of you who weren't here, when we reached the 1,000 mark for members in our Get Organized group, I gave away $1,000 in gift certificates. And so I hid this thing on the website, and anybody who found this entry form on the website and filled it out got a portion of that $1,000. And I think it worked out to $10 a person for that one. So, and we could do the same thing for this, unless somebody has some other creative ideas. So, but I promise by the end of the week I will make a commitment to celebrating that. It was really exciting. It was exciting to just blow by it. I mean, it was like we had like 1,889, and then all of a sudden we were past 2,100 members on the group. So Susan asks, how do you sort rub-ons? Should you keep those together? And I love the ideas of videos. Rub-ons are going to go right in with everything else. So if you have rub-ons for Mother's Day, they're going to go in Mother's Day, or rub-ons for sports, they're going to go in sports. So yeah, just put them right in with whatever category they belong in. So sometimes rub-ons are one of the things that I actually keep in their package in my scrap rack. So a lot of things like stickers or whatever that come in packages, I take them out of the package and put them in there so they're easier to use. But because rub-ons are easy to damage if they don't have that, the backing paper to, kind of protect them, I do leave rub-ons in their packages and then put them into the 4-section system. Just put them in wherever they go. You're going to come across rub-ons for things that are just like, that are words or whatever. So generally, or not generally, a lot of times words are specific. They're about birthday, or they're words about graduation or wedding or love or whatever. And sometimes they're just kind of general sayings or whatever. And this question comes up a lot. In my scrap rack, I have a section, and it's just labeled WOW. It's in themes under W. It stands for Words of Wisdom. Wow, that's exciting. I don't remember where I picked that up. I didn't come up with it on my own, but I like it, so I adopted it. And so I just have that Words of Wisdom section. And so I can go back there, and so there's, anything in there, just general encouragement or poetry or whatever, but it's generally things that don't have to do with travel or don't have to do with vacation. They're just, or voyage or whatever. They're just general things. And so that's where I would put those. Laura asks, any tips for organizing pre-printed quotations, stack of quotes examples to access them more easily? And there it is. If they are specific to, like I have a quote stack that's all about girls. So obviously that would be in the girls section. If you had one that was all about sports, it would be in sports. But if it's just general, put that quote stack right in with in your Words of Wisdom section. And then once you have that Words of Wisdom section, it becomes something that you're used to. So it's easy to go there and flip through and see those things. So, and you don't have to dig around searching for them. It's a lot easier. So Patty asks, I think you mentioned on a previous session about posting on the Facebook group if we had scrap rack pieces that we no longer needed and maybe being able to trade with someone. Just wanted to double check that this is okay. Thanks for this terrific series. It's absolutely okay. So if you need to upgrade, downsize, change pocket dimensions, whatever you want to do, you can post that trade on the Get Organized Challenge site. I have had a couple of people complain lately about other people posting things like vote for my layout or go visit my blog or all of these kind of things. So, we all get inundated with Facebook posts and emails and all that kind of thing. So if you can just, as long as you're keeping it organization specific and you're not, marketing your business or somebody else's business or whatever, then it's fine to post on the Scrap Rack Organizers Club or the Get Organized Challenge pages. Those are things that people are interested in. They're not solicitations, so that's totally fine. We've had a lot of members do it. Jackie says we have 2,140 members so far. Way to go. I know, it's so exciting. We just blew right by that 2,000 mark, like we were standing still. So Julie says, when you set up your 6-pocket photo page for a holding album, is the upper 2 pockets across for one 12 by 12 on the left side and one 12 by 12 on the right side in an open album? Yes. Well, not always, but generally, yes. So that's kind of the ideal of doing those pockets in those layouts. So each pocket represents a layout. Now, there have been times when I've put all the pictures for a double page spread in one pocket and all the pictures for a double page spread in the opposite side pocket for reasons of, you know, consolidating. But ideally, each one of those pockets would represent a double page spread. So you have the left side in the left side pocket and the right side of that double page spread in the right side pocket. Tracy says, Linda says hi. Hi, Linda. Tracy says, where would you put dollars or coin stickers? They are just in general, nothing holiday specific. I am having the same problem with multicolored Paisley items. Okay, so multicolored Paisley items that didn't jump out at me for any particular color would go in the very back of my rainbow section in what I call rainbow, and that's for papers that don't really have any specific calling as far as the colors are concerned. And then again, I have stripes and florals and dots and prints and patterns sort of all grouped together back there. So that's where I would put those, unless, of course, I bought them for something specific. So if you bought Paisley because it reminds you of your dad and you want to use it on the Father's Day pages, then that's the exception there. Is if you bought it to use for something specific, Father's Day, then you want to put it in Father's Day. You can put the scraps and colors when you're done with the Father's Day layout, but make sure you're keeping things where you're going to use them. Then with regard to the stickers for coins, it's funny that you say that. I had a section, especially when my kids were a little under M, that was money, because you do have money and coins, and it seemed like it was sort of a constant thing that I was using on really different kinds of layouts. So I would use it on a layout about teaching my kids about allowance, and I would use it on a layout for, you know, spending big money on something or feeling broke or whatever it was. So I actually had a section under M for money, and I also had a section back there that was medical dental, and they were the same. Like, I didn't have a lot of things. I had Band-Aids and some paper that from when my son broke his leg. I think I had some paper that had x-rays on it or something, and a couple other things. So my money and my medical dental thing all sort of fit in one little section. But there isn't really another way to think. Well, for me, I guess somebody could come up with something else, but when I needed money, I always thought about it as in money. I didn't think about it as something else. But you know, you're teaching your kids about banking, you think money or those kind of things. So I had it under M for money. I don't have it anymore because my kids are older and they manage their own money, but that's exactly where I had it. I think it was right with medical. Cheryl says, Tiffany, sorry I must have missed the information on the discount code for ordering. Can you state where I can find it again? Thanks, Cheryl. It comes out in the email. I don't know it off the top of my head. I think it's GOC 1225. But watch the email that comes out, Cheryl, after the session today, and it's at the very bottom of that email. I've just left it on for each week as I send it out. So it'll come out today at the end of the email, at the end of the day. And Linda says, I have a ton. What about quotes and poems? I have a binder full. Should I break it down into sections, birthday, etc., or keep it in one section? Shelley says the code is GOC 2525012. 25012. GOC 25012. Thanks, Shelley. I'm going to send it out right now. GOC 25012, and I'm going to send to all, so that should pop up in your screen, everybody. Thank you for that, Shelley. So Linda asks, she has a ton, she says, of a binder full. Now, remember, we've talked about this before. She's already got all her quotes in a binder, and they're usable as they are, and she knows where they are. So what I would do at this point is, the next time you need birthday quotes, and you got that birthday binder, I would go through there and pull out all the birthday things and put them in your 4-section system under birthday, and then put the binder back on the shelf. The same way we talk about moving forward through things, you can do that in this situation as well. So, and then if you're, the next time you're doing, I don't know, maybe a wedding, and you might have wedding quotes, or you're working on Valentine's Day and you might need love quotes, you can go through that binder and you can move your love quotes into your love section. And then, so what you're left with in that binder is just your words of wisdom eventually. So I wouldn't, unless you have tons of time or you wanted to include it as part of your, if you wanted to call that binder your container for the challenge, you could do that as well. Now remember, if you're using something like that in a binder and you're also using a scrap rack, even though that binder is probably full of pages that are 8.5 by 11 instead of our 12 by 12, as long as they're a standard 3-hole punch, you can just move those pages right into your scrap rack. So if you already have that binder sorted by birthday and you've got 3 or 4 pages of birthday stuff, just take those 8.5 by 11 pages out of the binder and put them into your scrap rack. It doesn't matter that they're not the same size. It actually adds, add some stability by having those different size pages in there. So you can do that as well. But in any situation like that, I would move through those things as I needed them, rather than, interrupting or not doing something else that would be more beneficial later. So I hope that makes sense to everybody. All right. So money. Oh, hang on a second. I lost my screen here. Okay. Money and medical are definitely tied together. Jackie says her quote is, money and medical are definitely tied together. Maybe that's why, other than being close in the alphabet with M, maybe that is why I ended up there, especially when you're talking about teenage boys, braces, broken bones, etc. Yes, I have 2 boys. They knew that we were on a first-name basis at the ER, which is luckily very close to our house. But maybe that is funny. They are tied together. Kamara says, I am still not getting the follow-up emails, even though I've joined or opted in again, as you mentioned. What else can I do? Kamara, if you can email me directly, and I'm just going to put my email address here, I will go in and check and see what's going on with your thing. Because if you've opted back in and approved it, it should be coming. You should be getting it. So, but I will go in and check it. Just email me with your email address, and I'll go in and see what's going on there. Janet says, I often buy cardstock and mesh paper. I separated them, but I wish I hadn't. Can cardstock be kept with matching paper under the seam? Absolutely. So remember, that bottom line decision-making process is keep things together I would use together. So this is a perfect example of that. When you buy pink floral paper and coordinating pink cardstock to work on your daughter's ballet pictures, you want to keep that pink cardstock with that pink floral paper right in that ballet section, so that when you do the ballet pictures, boom, there's the flower paper that you bought and the matching cardstock. When you're done with those layouts or finished with that pink floral paper, at that point you can take the solid colored cardstock that's left over, the scraps that are left over, and move them into a color section. So absolutely, and that's sort of the divining rod that you can always ask yourself if you're unsure is, am I keeping things together I'm going to use together? That really is the key. So thank you for bringing that up, Janice. It's a really important point. Minerva asks, do you have a store in Las Vegas? Unfortunately, we do not. There may be some stores in Las Vegas that will custom order for you. We're pretty easy set up for stores to order wholesale, and we like to support those stores so they can take the order for you and then order the product in exactly what you need, and so they're able to provide it for you. What happens with the stores is, with the small stores that we have that are really successful with the scrap rack, they're successful because somebody in the store, or everyone in the store in some cases, uses one and they really understand the benefit of it. And so if the store owner or an associate in the store really understands the benefit of it, it's really easy for them to stock and explain to people and help people use. But if no one in the store is using it, then it's more difficult for them to help people get organized with it. So we're encouraging stores now, if you have a favorite store, to send out about the organization challenge and let the people their customers from the organization challenge take the challenge with us and then go to the store and order the products that they want. So feel free to, if you have a local store, to ask them to order it in for you, or to, if you want to give us their information, we'll send an email that says, hey, Minerva loves to shop in your store. She wants to buy this scrap rack there. Can you do an order for her? So we're totally happy and really supportive of those small local stores. We'll do whatever we can to work with them so that we can support those little businesses. My mantra, a rising tide floats all boats. So if we can keep those little stores healthy, we're going to be better industry-wide. All right, that is the last question of the day. So you all have your challenge for the week to get that memorabilia organized, start a holding album for a small project or a big project, whatever is coming up next, and sort one more container of your stuff, and that could be a notebook full of quotes if that's what you're working on. Get your paper sorted and then post on Facebook or email me and let me know that you've completed this week's challenge. So I guess that's it. Everybody have a great week, and I will see you, or I will talk to you, I guess, next Tuesday morning. And Tracy, you're so welcome. Tracy just posted a note. Thanks for another great class. You are totally welcome. I love doing this. It's sort of the highlight of my job here. So have a great week. Have a productive week. And I'll talk to you all on Tuesday.